what the potential of the individual is. Are we going too fast, or is this at the right pace? Okay, nope. Terrific.
Keep going.
Okay, I will. Thanks. It's so much easier since the two of you are well versed in our product, but you may not know about all the additional things that we really do, and we do it for many, many companies. One of the reasons that George is in the United States right now is we've for several years had a huge project going on with Johnson & Johnson, which I know we are allowed to talk about, but we're talking about how to develop the leadership in their top performers across departments, and that's, George can talk about that later, but what lies beyond the Caliper profile, and that's really what we wanted to talk to you about today.
I mean, I think really what we're seeing here is that there are a lot of potential tools and solutions that Caliper offer, and we think they're really great, and they seem to work with an awful lot of clients in an awful lot of different situations. But before we talk about tools, I kind of think of the situation, talking about Johnson & Johnson, of, you know, if you go to a doctor and you say you've got a pain in your stomach, and the doctor says, well, lucky you, I've just bought a new machine from Johnson & Johnson, I'd love to try it out on you. You'd run a mile. You know, you'd want the person to do some sort of diagnostic. You don't want him to use a new tool just because he's just bought a new tool. And we have the same approach to our organizational development. We've got lots of great tools. The right tool or the right program will depend on really three questions that we ask the customer. And the customer are obviously, you know, the organization, but also the internal customers within the organization. So, you know, if you're looking at your agent teams, you'd be looking at some of the leaders of those teams. And really the three questions to ponder for them are, you know, what's the change that you need to see? You know, what has to be different tomorrow from how it is today? And then secondly, why is that important to the organization? And we tend to find that takes away an awful lot of the challenges of, we don't have time to develop our people, we don't have money to develop our people, we don't have resources, we don't have expertise. You know, all of those reasons that managers and leaders have for not developing their people is because they're seeing it as something apart from what they need to deliver on. So we very much help our clients think about, what is it that has to be different, and why is that important to the continued success of the organization? And then thirdly, how do you measure it? I mean, what's the measurement criteria that's going to be valid for you? Again, we're not going to come in with a canned ROI formula that doesn't work for the particular organization. We look at the needles that you want to move and how far you want to move those needles. So those three questions are our starting point for any client conversation. Having had that conversation with the client, what you can see here are a range of potential solutions. Everything from coaching to hypo development programs, to team analysis, to team building, to succession planning. All of the different programs that you would expect an organizational development organization to utilize. But I think the one difference that we see is that instead of trying to fit the organization into a program, we start with what are the things that you need to change and why, and then we fit our programs into the organization. The way that we approach it is, as I said at the beginning, is very much about what are the results that you need to see in order to feel comfortable that you got the return on the investment that you made. And then we can pull in all of these different solutions to get you something that is the right shape for what you need, that is the cheapest, quickest, and most efficient way for you to actually get those people acting in a different manner and delivering the different results. So I mean, having said that, that's the kind of philosophical piece behind the program. What we thought would be most useful was just to set that up and then to have a dialogue with you so that you could ask the questions that are important for you in terms of maybe some of the specifics of how we do this or who we've done it with and what that looks like. So, we just wanted to set that up in terms of what the structure looks like and then move on to a dialogue. So, Susan?
Great. Georgia, if you wouldn't mind moving it back one minute to the previous slide, if we could. Thank you. And that's a starting point. I know that Lisa had asked me to really turn to you and ask a little bit more about what does succession planning entail. But before we go there, Lisa and Marcy, are there questions that you have right off the top when it comes to the additional services we provide?
No, don't know so much if it's a question, more of a statement, and leveling the playing field of a couple different things that we're working on organizationally, and then some of the different venues that we have coming up, and see if there is a potential fit. And Marcy, feel free to stop there, cut me off here at any point. But we have, let's talk about our agents first, because if we have two tracks going on simultaneously right now. One is our exclusive agents, very similar to Allstate. They are small business owners. The exclusive agent model is new for Horace Mann, just began a little over a year ago. And we currently today have three types of agents. We have employee agents. We also have exclusive agents, and within that group, we have a group of folks who used to be employees that have made the decision to migrate to this new contract, and then now we are hiring on exclusive agents. We are where Allstate was 10, 15 years ago. So our program is in its infancy, and what I mean by that, although the program is very robust and there's a lot around it, our agents are very new to being business owners. They don't have a large books like an Allstate does or a State Farm yet, but they do have the exclusive agents. They do have an outside office. They do have at least one licensed producer, and they have a lot of questions around how do I find that right person? Mm-hmm. How do I develop them? And what does succession planning look like within my agency? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. That's one track that's going on right now. Without them succeeding as an organization, we will not succeed.
Right.
The other track that we have going on right now is the development of our sales leaders. So how do we develop them so that they are able to consult to an independent business owner and drive results? A lot of our sales leaders have been here for a long time. They're used to managing employees. They aren't used to consulting to business owners, which is very, very, very different. And how do you get results? You're still responsible for sales results, but how do you get results without telling somebody what to do? Mm-hmm. Right? And so what do those conversations look like? How do I, as a sales leader, manage my goals? How do I look at my business as my business? Even though I'm an employee of the company and I'm a sales leader, trying to get them to understand you need to look at this as if you own it. Mm-hmm. And this is your business, your distribution system. And then Marcy has the third track, which is our onboarding of our new agents. Marcy, anything you want to add to this?
No, Lisa, I think you hit it pretty well on the head there. The only thing that I would add to is just, if we were going to look at using this type of assessment, during the selection phase for our new exclusive agents as they come on board.
Marcy, are you using anything right now to assess?
Yes, we currently use the LIMRA Career Profile Assessment.
Okay. Okay.
A couple of things spring to mind. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the work that we do with franchise operations.
Yes.
They're very similar type of thing where you have to help them be small business owners, and they have some sort of help and support, like umbrella help and support, but they are their own business owner as well. In terms of the exclusive agents, and certainly in terms of succession planning, as you know, what we would do is take a look at the two sides of things. One is the potential. So what is the potential? And maybe this is one of the points that's interesting, is because once you've done the profile, that data stays with you for life, and it can be used in a variety of different ways. it really helps you in terms of being able to apply it to these different situations. So you can look at the data in a lot of different ways. You can look at it for development in their current position. You can look at who are the people who have better potential to go up into maybe leadership positions. You can look at it in terms of what's the best way to organize your team in order to play to their particular strengths. So there's different ways of looking at the same data, and then you move into the development piece of it, which is how do they use that information. So using it in a recruitment process, it automatically becomes an action plan for onboarding. I mean, that's part of the process. So once the person has been hired, that's when the real work starts, because that's when you start paying them, and that's when they start producing. So coming out of their profile could be an action plan. You could then aggregate the data to look at their potential to move up in the organization. You then track that with performance data as part of a succession planning piece. So all of that would be a natural flow from the information that you've got once they've been through the profile. The sales leaders piece is interesting because it sounds a lot like the work some of the work we do with Johnson & Johnson. You probably know they're a very, very big matrix organization, so they're hugely decentralized. And we work with their supply chain, specifically the quality, regulatory, and compliance people. So you can imagine just how important quality, regulatory, and compliance is within a company like J&J. You can also imagine the tension between the ops people who need to produce the stuff and the quality people who need to make sure that it's safe for people to use. And what they've got is a situation where they need to influence without hierarchical authority.
Mm-hmm.
So what they need to do is collaborate and influence. They can't just walk in there and waving a bunch of regulations, because that's not going to fly. They also can't just let the ops people ride roughshod. So it's exactly the kind of situation that you're talking about. How do you get people to have ownership of something? How do you get them to understand what collaboration genuinely looks like, but also what influencing looks like in that sort of matrix situation? So a lot of the work that we do with them is along those lines, and it's about helping them understand what it looks like in practice, what their responsibilities are, what are the results that they need to generate, and what's the way to do it when you can't just play the "I'm your boss" card.
Right.
I mean, that just those are the two things that immediately spring to mind. I mean, having the information from the profile, we can certainly sit down with you and look at all the different ways that you can plug it into what you would do with them in terms of performance management, succession planning, performance recovery situations, coaching. All of that would naturally flow from the data. And in terms of the sales leaders, what we would probably recommend is looking at a program that helps them put that into practice, so that they would be doing it and learning at the same time. It's not something you can learn in a classroom in isolation. It's also something that needs to happen right now for your organization. So what we would recommend is a program, and that's what we do with J&J, is a program where they would actually be doing it, but we would be helping them learn what they're doing as they're doing it, so that then that becomes